Today we are going to begin to introduce color. The easiest way to do that is to limit the number of paints in our palette. But more importantly, we must identify value shapes as either warm or cool. At any given time, there are warm highlights and warm shadows on the figure. There are also cool highlights and cool shadows. All of these work together to render a likeness because planes shift and cause light to be cast in different ways across the form. This is why determining your shapes is so important to defining your figure. This is my palette setup. I'm using a reusable enamel tray with saran wrap. It's important to also have a variety of flat, round, and sable brushes to work with. For this demonstration, we are only using black, white, raw umber, and cadmium red light acrylic. This limited palette will create a fairly realistic range for any skin tone and help us be more objective in determining what is warm and cool within one value range. To practice this, I'm first mixing cadmium red light with raw umber. Then I'm mixing cadmium red light with black. Notice the difference. Even though raw umber by itself is cool and appears dark, it has a slight brownish trait that makes it warm, as seen when I water it down. This makes it versatile according to the other colors you mix it with, because you can shift something warm or cool. Mars Black is cool because it has a blue in it, as seen in the diluted water mixture. So, for our limited palette, raw umber and cadmium red light will create warm values, while black with cadmium red light will create cool values. White with cadmium red light will create our higher values. If I rearrange these initial mixtures, I can create a fairly broad value range from near black to near white. Keep in mind that if I need to create a warmer value, I would add raw umber, and to create a darker value, I would add Mars Black. Remember that in illustration, you only need 4 values to create a likeness. We don't need all 10 values for photorealism. To mix a warm highlight, I'll need cadmium red light, raw umber, and white. To mix a warm shadow, I'll need cadmium red light, black, and white. To mix a cool highlight, I'll need raw umber and white. To mix a cool shadow, I'll need raw umber and black. So our value range going from brightest bright to darkest dark would follow this progression. Be sure to compare your colors for soft edges, which means your values are too similar. Normally, you would not add white with another color to create a high value because white dulls. You would need to add yellow. To visually understand this, think of the color wheel set on a white background. Each color's edge quality determines how similar or different it is against white. Similar values have soft edges, and different values have hard edges. Yellow is the only pure color that has a soft edge with white, making yellow the color of value. Yellow can also be thought of as one of the earth tones because they have both yellow and red qualities. Notice how similar our limited palette range is to the earth tones. When we begin to use them, we will essentially have a basic value range all ready to use. When you start a figure drawing, either from life or reference, always be sure to look for key signals. Make sure that your hands and feet have proper planar structure. If they don't, the hands and feet may look flat and unpleasing, let alone difficult to draw. Your figure drawing should have both gesture and a sense of form or volume. You can use either a flat or round brush to get the initial drawing down. As soon as you begin painting, though, you should use a flat brush to block in your value shapes because the broad side covers more surface area and relates to the planar shifts of the body. Switch to sable brushes afterwards for smaller areas of detail or refining edges. Begin by blocking in shadow shapes first, then highlight shapes, and then work in between the two. This will help in controlling the sculptural development of the piece. Notice how I often hold my brush sideways. This is for gesture, as well as getting my flat brush to follow light and shadow as they cross the planes of the body. Don't forget to also block in the background at the same time. This will help you better determine if the values on the model are working while tying the figure to an environment. There are many shapes in the background that are important to how we see the figure by itself. Because they are a shape, they direct the eye throughout the piece and help elements come forward or recede.